Good morning. It is a joy to be with you today at our virtual Birmingham Unitarian Church, where we welcome people of all races, ages, abilities, all people of goodwill. I am Donna Larkin Moore, joining with fellow worship associate Tony Kubian, musicians Forrest Howell and Chris Sloan, and tech support from Jane O'Neill and Drika DeGraff. We are a welcoming congregation, a designation given to us by the Unitarian Universalist Association in 1996. We are dedicated to doing the work of being fully inclusive of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer individuals and families. We live out our faith through commitment to justice matters, including a focus on issues addressing the climate crisis and confronting racism in ourselves and in the world. We celebrate our theological differences and encourage people of a variety of beliefs and philosophies to participate fully in the life of our congregation. Normally, I would give you some announcements now, but a real anomaly, no announcements today. So for more information about our church, please check out our website, bucmi.org. We extend a special welcome to those who may be visiting us for the first time. We invite you to learn more about our church by enjoying our virtual coffee and conversation following the service. If you feel that BUC may be your church home, please contact our minister to talk about the path to membership or our membership chair, Brianna Zamborski. Today's service is titled Sabbath, Rest, and Getting Your Head Screwed On Straight, where, among other things, we will offer a few tips to help with all the anxiety we have experienced of late. And now our service will begin.
Our chalice lighting today is A Flame to Light Our Path by Deborah Burrell, with some additional words by Melanie Davis. If ever there was a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Fire consumes us and casts a bright light. May our chalice flame consume our regrets for the past, our fears about the future, and our worries about today. May it light a path of peace and joy. Please join us in singing number 16 in the gray hymnal, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple."
Tis the gift to be simple, tis the gift to be free, tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right.
A Renewed Hope for This World by Nathan Ryan, with a few adaptations to reflect the fact that we are Zooming. Be it real or metaphor, whatever is in your backpack or your briefcase or your purse that you've brought into this virtual sanctuary that is weighing you down, leave it behind. Whatever you're carrying that is keeping you distracted or caught up in shame or guilt or hopelessness, leave it behind. If you need it, it will be there when we're done. But for this time, just let it go. Come into this space with open hearts. Come into this space with a soul that has remembered how to be tender again. Come into this space with a renewed hope for this world. Come into this space ready to build a world we've always been worthy of and have always dreamed of. Today we'll be talking about the Sabbath, rest, and getting our heads screwed on straight. I think you'll find this service quite upbeat.
The Cobbler's Boots, from Inspirational Stories. Once upon a time, there was a cobbler who was very busy. He lived in a large village and was the only cobbler in town, so he was responsible for repairing the boots of everybody else. However, he didn't have time to repair his own boots. This wasn't a problem at first, but over time, his boots began to deteriorate and fall apart. While he worked feverishly on the boots of everyone else, his feet got blisters and he started to limp. His customers began to worry about him, but he reassured them that everything was okay. However, after a few years, the cobbler's feet were so injured that he could no longer work, and no one's boots got repaired. As a consequence, soon the entire town started to limp in pain, all because the cobbler never took the time to repair his own boots. This story was written to illustrate a simple principle that is so often disregarded. If you don't look after yourself, after a while, you'll be no good to anyone else either. Your best intentions will mean nothing, and you'll be unable to do what you're meant to do. This goes for pastors, leaders, social workers, teachers, even parents. If you don't take the time to care for yourself, no one else will. I'm not talking about a self-absorbed existence. I'm talking about making sure that you have the energy and focus required to sustain your performance in the years ahead. Playtime is important. I'm talking about fixing your boots. Are you looking after yourself? If you keep going without making any changes, will you eventually burn out? So be sure to take care of yourself. Your gifts for this morning's offering may come in the form of a check or by going to our website and visiting Venmo. Why do we give? We give because it makes us feel good. We give because we are able to. We give because it is the traditional thing to do. We give because we learned to do so as a child. We give because our beloved community means so much to us, individually and collectively. We give. Thank you for your gifts.
Joys and Sorrows is a special time in our service where we have the opportunity to share a personal, intimate moment in our life that has brought us a distinct joy or a profound sadness. We know sharing this moment brings greater connection within our community. Today we have a sorrow from Dick Rapoli. His wife, Karen Rapoli, passed away last week. Karen has many dear friends at BUC and has appreciated the caring, supportive, and like-minded community over the years. We have a joy from Annis Pratt. We are immensely grateful that my daughter Faith is coming home from the hospital with her mile-a-minute brain as good as ever after a benign tumor was removed the day after Labor Day. Your calls and prayers and concern for her comforted me deeply during those truly awful days. We have a joy from Valerie Phillips. About a week ago, my 13-year-old Sarah asked if we ever submit our joys and sorrows. It turns out that we do. Happy 14th birthday to Sarah today. For those of you who have joys or sorrows that are maybe too tender or painful to share, know that we hold you in our hearts. And for all of us just trying to make it through this global pandemic, hang in there. Let us lean on each other, our family and friends, and we will get through this together. May it be so. Now, please join me in a brief meditation, breathing in, breathing out silently for a short interval, sending healing energy to all who are in need. Amen.
Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul.
Blessings on Those Staying Home by Linda Barnes. We're staying home. Love has never asked us to do this before. We're staying home. This is our gift to humanity. Let us wish each other well. For those staying home alone, I offer you this blessing. May you grow a deeper understanding of your own worth. Dear one, leaven the loneliness with gentle care, for this too shall pass. May you be blessed with a peace and serenity. May you find the courage to reach out to hear one another's voice and to remember others need you too. May you be well. For those staying home together, I offer you this blessing. May you find moments of patience and grace in your relations. May you offer each other enough time apart, reassurance and space enough to cry, to safely rage, for this too shall pass. Then let peace come again into your home. May you see one another's whole self as a gift. May you be well. For those working from home, I offer you this blessing. May you remember to take breaks. May you find the means to relish your imperfection and the imperfection of others as evidence of our shared humanity. You are enough even when there isn't enough. Make order in your days and then let it go. May you be well. For those staying at home with children, I offer you this blessing. May you find humor and compassion in your days. There will be a learning of a different kind, deeper no doubt, unexpected for sure. May there be patience and forgiveness again and again and again. For this too shall pass. May you remember all the deep love that brought your family into being. May there be peace and understanding in your home. May you be well. May we be well. May it be so.
Some of you may remember I did a sermon on Sabbath back in 2015. Well, that sermon had a very different tone than today's homily, where we will talk about Sabbath, rest, and renewal, and some tips to help with anxiety. I started writing about Sabbath because I was feeling overwhelmed by what is going on in our world and a deep desire for rest, for peace. I felt a need to explore the lack of rest, the confusion, the chaos, which has so permeated our daily lives. I wondered if there was anything I could do to mitigate some of these things and the concomitant spiritual numbness that often accompanies it. I want to share some of what I read from others and where the Sabbath fits in the picture. We, as a people, a society, are still caught up in the violence of war and violence on our streets. But today, let's look at some positive things that we can do to get our own heads screwed on straight. I lack the empirical knowledge, the gut level understanding of what people of color who are protesting racism are experiencing on a daily basis. Thomas Merton wrote, quote, "There is a pervasive form of contemporary violence, and that is activism and overwork. The rush and pressure of modern life are a form, perhaps the most common form, of its innate violence. To allow oneself to be carried away by a multitude of conflicting concerns, to surrender to too many demands, to commit oneself to too many projects, to want to help everyone in everything, is to succumb to violence. The frenzy of our activism neutralizes our work for peace. It destroys our own inner capacity for peace. It destroys the fruitfulness of our work because it kills the root of inner wisdom, which makes work fruitful." End quote. Let's change course. From Sabbath, restoring the sacred rhythm of rest. Wayne Muller addresses things much like Thomas Merton and goes on to suggest the problem is that we have forgotten the Sabbath. He writes, quote, "Before you dismiss this statement as simplistic, even naive, we must explore more fully the nature and definition of Sabbath. While Sabbath can refer to a single day of the week, Sabbath can also be a far-reaching, revolutionary tool of cultivating those precious human qualities that grow only in time. We must have a period in which we lie fallow and restore our souls. In Sabbath time, we remember to celebrate what is beautiful and sacred. We light candles, sing songs, tell stories, eat, nap, and make love. In a complex and unstable world, if we do not rest, if we do not surrender into some kind of Sabbath, how can we find our way? How can we hear the voices that tell us the right thing to do?" He continues, "Among the many Sabbath practitioners who have shared their stories with me, one of the most popular Sabbath activities is making love. Indeed, the Talmud tractate on marriage contracts states that the righteous couple should make love every Friday night. One practitioner told me that it is traditional among some sects to make love 4 times during the Sabbath. Hearing this, I respectfully inquired as to whether he and his wife did, in fact, faithfully keep this particular precept. "No, we make love only once, but," he added with a twinkle, "we hold a deep intention for the other 3. End quote. So besides making love, let's think about some other anxiety-reducing activities and begin with the most impactful of those activities, techniques, and approaches to try, based on years of research and expert recommendations that I found online. Let me assure you, these ideas come from valid sources. These recommendations are not my original work. Number 1, and my personal favorite, repeat your worry until you're sick of it. If you had a fear of elevators, you'd get inside one and ride it 1,000 times in a row. At first, you'd be very anxious, then less so, and eventually, it would have no effect except to make you sick of riding in an elevator. So take the troublesome thought that's nagging at you and say it over and over, silently, slowly for 20 minutes. It's hard to keep your mind on a worry if you repeat it that many times. This is called the boredom cure for obvious reasons. Number 2, don't judge yourself for random or crazy thoughts. You may occasionally have thoughts that lead you to think you'll do something terrible or that you're going nuts. Remember, our minds are creative. Little synapses are firing away at random, and every now and then, a crazy thought jumps out. Everyone has them. Instead of judging yours, describe it to yourself like it's a curious object on a shelf and move on. 3, set aside worry time. Our worries surface unannounced all day, like mental texts and pings, and we stop everything to address them, even if we really should be doing something else. Oh, I am really guilty of this one. But what if you didn't respond to them right away? Try setting aside 20 minutes every day, let's say at 4:30, just for your worries. If you're fretting at 10 a.m., jot down the reason and resolve to think it through later. By the time it's 4:30, many of your troubles won't even matter anymore, and you'll have spent almost an entire day anxiety-free. Number 4, stop trying to be in control all the time. Yes, I am guilty of this one too. You replay a clumsy comment you made or get enraged when an order is not delivered. When you desperately try to take command of things that can't be controlled, you're like the swimmer who panics and slaps at the water. This gets you nowhere. Instead, imagine that you're floating along on the water with your arms spread out, looking up at the sky. It's a paradox, but when you surrender to the moment, you actually feel far more in control. Recently, I read, it is imperative that we learn how to sit with the knowledge that so much of our lives and the situations we are faced with are out of our control. We can make a plan, but in the end, we must learn that there is only so much we can do. That is okay. Remember the saying, want to hand God a laugh? Make a plan. Next, smile through it, even if you don't want to. According to a 2012 study from the University of Kansas, the old adage is rooted in truth. Smiling during stressful situations can help ease the anxiety, even if you don't feel happy. So put a smile on your face. Focus on a breathing technique. Simple breathing exercises can alleviate feelings of panic associated with anxiety. And one I'm sure you've heard before, reduce your sugar intake. When anxious, it's common to turn to sugary comfort foods like candy, processed snacks, to temporarily cope with symptoms. My weakness? Potato chips. But research from the Western Human Nutrition Research Center warns against it. Indulging may provide short-term respite, but satisfying sugar cravings by feeding those cravings may actually increase anxiety in the long run. Avoid large amounts of caffeine or caffeine altogether. Well, I love chocolate, so I do not avoid all caffeine. And I remind myself that dark chocolate has far less sugar than milk chocolate and contains a chemical that results in the brain producing positive endorphins that make me feel happy. Meditate, even if you've never tried it before. Setting aside time, even 5 to 10 minutes a day, for mindful meditation has positive effects on your psyche, suggests in-depth research from Johns Hopkins University. Force yourself to move in big ways and small. It may be hard to find the energy to work up a sweat when you're feeling blue or you have something more pressing to take care of. But that's often the anxiety talking. Extensive research on the correlation between exercise and mental health shows that regular exercise is associated with lower anxiety and depression. I sometimes just move my arms while seated. It may sound silly, but I feel my heart appreciates it. Be disciplined about getting enough sleep. A 2013 study published in the Journal of Neuroscience supports the idea that sleep deprivation can have serious health consequences, including ratcheting up anxiety levels. And last, see a pro. Sometimes our problems run deep and cannot be resolved without professional help. I recently read that online therapy has become so popular that many believe it is here to stay. Muller wrote, quote, "Every stimulus competes for our attention. Buy me, do me, watch me, try me, drink me. It is as if we have inadvertently stumbled into some horrific wonderland." Sabbath time can become our refuge. During Sabbath, we set aside a sanctuary in time, disconnect from the frenzy of consumption, disconnect from accomplishment, and consecrate our day as an offering for healing all beings. Our willingness to rest depends on what we believe we will find there. At rest, we come face to face with the essence of life. If we believe life is fundamentally good, we will seek out rest as a taste of that goodness. If we believe life is fundamentally bad or flawed, we will be reluctant to quiet ourselves, afraid of meeting the darkness that resides in things or in ourselves. End quote. I close this morning by suggesting that we follow the words of Reb Zalman and pamper our souls, that we honor the Sabbath. And when you're refreshed by time away from the busyness of the world, at peace with yourself, think about one or two of the thoughts, ideas we shared this morning. Accept that control is not quite as important as we believed it to be. And maybe find an online friend to share what you are doing to reduce anxiety and fully live your one and precious life. In the meantime, feel the grace that surrounds you, the God, the Spirit in each of us, and the love that makes us whole. So may it be. Amen. Chris Swan will lead us in our closing hymn, "This Little Light of Mine."
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
May we go out into this world with our heads screwed on straight. Let us take the light from this chalice with us, and we will be a light for everyone we come into contact with. May it be so. Amen. Please stay tuned for a few extra minutes for a special postlude by the Phoenix Chamber Choir. The song is Longest Time, Quarantine Edition. Thank you and enjoy.